I do believe in something. See, I'm an atheist who believes in something. I believe in us. I believe in what I actually see, experience in the world. So, like, atheism is a pessimistic term. It always was, actually, in history. So, like, Christians were atheists because, well, they only have that one God that isn't visible. So they were getting told by the Roman Empire, you're an atheist to the Christians. Christians were called atheists. And so through history, and you're like, okay, that was a bad term. And it still is. You can see it's like a curse word in the communities online, because if you're an atheist, you don't believe in anything. I do believe in something. I think I always have. And what I was believing in the whole time, by putting it up there on the sky, or putting it up there on a God, or putting it onto Jesus or whoever, I think it was really us that I believed in the whole time. It's almost like, this is a little fictional, but it's an analogy. Do you remember the movie Interstellar?
Yes, yeah.
All right, you remember Matt McConaughey, okay? The whole time his daughter's like, the ghost keeps visiting her, and the ghost is trying to talk to her. And you're thinking, is it a demon? Is it a god? Is it a spirit? Is it this? Is it that? And he ends up in the black hole at the very end. Actually, when they're going through the wormhole, he sees something. And then, boom, he ends up in the black hole. And what was it the whole time? It was himself trying to speak to his daughter to save planet Earth. It's pure fiction. I get it. But I think that's what we humans are in our thinking, is we need a story. We are creatures that tell stories. In fact, we make up stories in our heads when we tell our friends what happened yesterday. If it's exciting, we know it'll get a thrill out of them if we enhance it a little. And we do it automatically. We don't purposefully lie. In fact, it's not even like a bad thing. It's part of human nature. And so I believe in us. I believe in our story. In fact, when I interviewed Guts at Gibbon on evolution, she said, if you think the Bible, if you think that the myths of these books are the greatest story ever, you should hear about the greatest underdog, the Homo sapien, and how they overcame and rose to the top. She said, that's the greatest story you've ever heard. There's another story to believe in. These are stories. And so there's nothing wrong as being an atheist and believing in something. All we're saying is we don't believe there's like this God thing. I put that in the category of like aspiration, assuming agency where there isn't agency, or at least with no evidence that there is. So I'm not going to say there's an agent being that's like puppet string controlling, or even in some way playing with our destiny here on Earth. I don't believe that's literally true in any way. I think I have, and you have. And of course, if you get into philosophy, we can talk about cause and effect and all that cool stuff. But my point is, in our perception, it is appearing like we make choices, and these choices seem like we have some say in what's going on. I'll roll with that narrative. I'm not a fatalist. So like, no matter what we do here, I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to try and make the best of it. So I think we should believe in something and not be complete nihilist. We need to invent in our minds something that helps us wake up in the morning, aspire to something greater, and achieve goals that aren't there. They don't exist yet, but we can make them happen. Why do you think the person who retires and has no ambition dies early? It is inherent in our nature to survive. This is part of the science of knowing ourselves that we need. So religion gives them that, but it's so dogmatic and it's so fundamental in so many people. That's what I think is what poisons a lot of people. I'm not going to say it poisons everything, taking that word literally, but it definitely poisons a lot. And I think that we can come up with new myths. Myths based on the facts. Create our own story.
Yeah.
Why do we need that one?
Fact. Yeah, like as you say, telling a story of what happened yesterday to your friend, it's like, hey, look, there are kind of the axioms of what happened here, but for the sake of entertainment, or these facts in a scientific sense, we can dress them up and make fun out of them in a sense, like kind of create meaning around them. I mean, one of my favorite quotes that I've read in a book in the past 6 months was from, I read it in The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker, but it was by Otto Rank. Becker was just referencing him. And Otto Rank said that we are not biological creatures. We are theological creatures. We are meaning machines.
This is theological. Even if we can analyze our biology and the science of ourselves, that's why I think there's this disconnect. A lot of people think, oh, well, you just think we're atoms and all these chemical processes that are bouncing around. And it's like, while that may be factual, that may be what's actually in the description of what is the process, what is actually going on. But can you answer the whys? Like give the meaning to it, right? What's the meaning? And that's what Christianity, that's what all these religions are giving people. And I can't give that meaning, but I think I found meaning in myself when I was dying of heroin addiction. See, I was dying, man. I wasn't going to make it. And the Christian answer wasn't working for me. You're a wretch, you're a wicked sinner, fallen, and you need Jesus to save you. And the church did not tell me there is a literal addiction disease, if you will, here. You have a medical condition that's probably biologically and genetically passed down to you in some sense. It's definitely environmentally, because my father was an alcoholic. I needed the science. I needed to know what were the facts. Because then I knew, once I knew the facts of what was going on, I could answer that ethical question about myself. You're not a bad human being. In fact, Derek, you never were. You never were a bad person. You were always a good person. No matter what the fairy tales want to tell you about a woman eating a fruit and God making a man from dirt and them having this fall and they did wrong to the man upstairs and that you are one of those descendants. No, you are great. You've always been great. And that was what I had to believe to survive. It wasn't, I'm a wretch and I need you, and without you, I'm nothing. That's what I believed for years. It was when I realized you, Derek, you are the man. You are great. You've made mistakes, but understand those mistakes were driven because your literal neurons from your frontal lobe cortex to your midbrain were misfiring because of addiction. When you ingest this drug, it literally becomes part of survival, like sex, water, sleep, and food. It becomes part of how you survive. If you were starving, Derek, would you steal an apple to eat? Yeah. If your family was starving, Derek, would you steal to feed your family? Yeah. If you had to, of course. Yes, I would. Okay. Would you feel bad? I don't know if I would if it came down to minuscule food by Walmart, multi-billionaires running the Walmart industry to feed my family. But my point is, I would do whatever's necessary. That's what ended up happening in addiction. And I realized, okay, hold on. My behavior was based upon the wiring of my brain. How do I rewire my brain? So I started a program called Rewired Addiction. And that's how I got clean. I started to train my behavior to be different, which caused my habits to be different. Long story short, I'm making the point that when we tell ourselves these myths, some people live their whole life going, I'm not worthy and I don't deserve it. And then there are people like me who start to wake up and go, hold on, I've always been worthy. I've always been good. And I believe that that's the case. And that's why I give second chances to people who are drug addicts and don't view them as these horrible cancers to society. I know they don't even mean to be doing the things that they're doing. We're going to look back, bro. If we're alive in 1,000 years, we're going to go, we locked people in cages for 23 hours a day to rehabilitate them. How Neanderthal is that? That's exactly what we're going to think. We're going to look back and go, they ate animals? They ate living animals, conscious beings. Our ancestors were so backwards. And when you read the Bible, there are fragments of fossils where human sacrifice, infant sacrifice is there. You could see where they were offering their children up to God. Now think about it. We look at that and go, how horrific. But if you were back then, would they be thinking like we are thinking right now? I bet you they were. So should we judge the past? No, we should just not repeat it. We should learn from it. And we shouldn't keep practicing these bad ideas. That's why Christianity is successful. It has inspiring philosophy. It has William Lane Craig. It has philosophers who have found ways to make it not mean what it really actually meant in the original context oftentimes, so that it looks like this is something we should still keep today.